Hi, I'm Suzi Myers. I'm Senior Director of Enterprise Business Intelligence. I'm lucky to lead our global enterprise business intelligence organization where we take our data and make actionable insights for our organization. The two women that inspire me and I learn the most from are my grandmothers. Both of them had so much adversity in life and they made something out of their next chapter. My paternal grandmother lost her mother very young, and she was left to raise her siblings. And she, as a young woman, went from northern Minnesota to New York City to be a nanny, which in my mind, I can't even imagine that she did this. And then she came home, got a 2-year certificate, came back to the hometown, raised a beautiful family, and she lost a battle with cancer early. But with the way people talked about her for years and years afterwards, to me, that was like the person I would want to emulate. And my maternal grandmother was widowed at 40, and she didn't have her driver's license. She didn't have her high school diploma, and she had a farm and 2 daughters still at home that she needed to raise. So she pivoted and she got her GED, she got her driver's license, she bought a home. And she was one of those people that, to me, that she never complained. And yet she had a second act that she didn't expect. And to me, the ability to pivot in the face of adversity, those are the women I admired the most and I learned from every day. Early in my career, I applied for a position that I really wanted, and it was actually reporting to a female manager. I thought it was the right fit for me. And what I heard is the reason I was not selected was because I was young and I was female and I may have children soon and I wouldn't like the hours. So to me, that bias, I didn't know what to do with it at the time. And my manager didn't know what to do with it at the time. And it didn't leave me in a place where I really felt supported in that situation. So there's this delicate balance, I think, as a woman that I've seen, is that I want to claim my space, and I want to claim it for me. I want to claim it for my teams that I lead. I want to claim it for other women. But there are ways that if I have to be also careful to not be seen as too aggressive or too assertive. So there's many things that I've learned to do, like proactively put out my ideas in writing to the group, to in a meeting when I bring up an idea and somebody else brings up the same idea later, I congratulate them saying, I'm so glad you're aligned with what I brought up earlier. How can we merge these together? Because as a woman, that balance of how do I remain likable, but how do I seem effective at my job? It's this tightrope walk that we become. It's tiring at times, but it is a deliberate thought. And I'm thankful that I've learned things that I can share with others and that I can be on the lookout as I'm in the room or I'm in projects or I'm in situations where I see this bias happening. Because as I become a leader, I have more influence to be able to stop it and to call it out in the moment, where sometimes earlier in my career, I might have felt really uncomfortable doing that. Well, one thing as human beings, we all have bias. Like if we own the fact that all of us have some type of bias because we all come from different perspectives and different places, that it is our responsibility to understand what bias looks like. For me, I listened to a podcast with Adam Grant talking about how our circle of concern isn't wide enough. That for me as a woman, it's not just about bias against me as a woman, and it's frightening to see how many women have bias against other women. And so to me, you know, whether it's LGBTQ or, you know, from a racial perspective or a different abilities perspective or any other type of affinity group, it is my responsibility and I'm accountable for understanding what bias looks like, so I identify it. And if one of my direct reports or even somebody in the organization came to me and talked about bias, it is my responsibility to listen with an open heart, an open mind, and understand what they are experiencing. Because when I've had those moments where I brought bias up to a manager and I was told, he told me, what can I do about that? And I'm like, help me strategize, help me figure this out. And to me as leaders, And even as individuals, it is our responsibility to identify and pull that bias moment out from the roots so it doesn't take hold. Because to me, a safe place to work where we are addressing bias and we're talking about bias and we're acknowledging that we are not tolerating bias, that is a great place. And I'm thrilled about being part of Conduent, where diversity and inclusion isn't just a talk, it is a walk.